is coming back in to talk to us about this week's REI 101 series. Patricia, thank you so much for coming back in. I know you came to talk to us a little bit in week 1 about house hacking, and Patricia has been learning alongside with you guys on every week's topics. So welcome in, Patricia, again. And how do you feel about what you've been learning so far?
Yeah, well, thank you again for having me. I'm very excited. I think we're on week 12, which is awesome. I've taken in a lot of information, and
well, we're on week 9.
I mean, week 9
of our 12-week series.
Yes,
but we're almost there.
We're almost there.
We're almost there.
But nonetheless, I've taken in a lot of information, and it's been a great learning experience.
Well, you've probably taken in about 12 weeks worth of information.
Probably by
Just
now.
because
that's why I'm getting all mixed up.
Because you're right alongside, and you're coming in with us on these tours and stuff. So it's been really, really fun.
Yeah.
So thank you so much. We're going to talk this week on week 9. We're going to talk about working with professional athletes and irregular income earners and producers, because as business owners, we know that sometimes money can come in a lot.
Yes.
At once, and then there's might be sporadic outlets of where maybe we don't see a commission for a little bit. So working along, as investors for ourselves, right? We want to keep a lot of this in mind, but especially with professional athletes or other irregular income producers or business owners that have come into a lot of money, right? We keep them separated on what they have, especially because of professional athletes. All of their income is pretty much exposed, right? And we talked about this last week. You remember week 8 on utilizing our luxury clients as investors, right? So this will kind of like
it overlaps for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So again, from last week, we kind of discussed. Do you remember a little bit about working with luxury clients
as investors? Yes. So in what we learned last week in terms of luxury clients as investors, it's similar to just the general investor, but like what we're going to discuss today, there are other teams involved. So that can be asset protection attorneys, it can be different CPAs, and it is kind of a team collective effort in order to get the property or whatever investment that this client wants secured.
Yes, because when we're working with these types of clients, right, it's capital preservation over anything, right? We are working with these types of investors who understand that there could be short-term losses for a long-term gain, right? So when we're discussing these topics, we know that being a real estate investor it's a mindset, right? Right? We've discussed this every week, but it's knowing what you are investing in the long term is going to have a larger return. So we want to keep this in mind, and yes, making sure you're working with that team, right? Because it is a team effort of your CPAs, of your tax attorneys, your estate planners, and your financial advisors. It's everybody working in one room to be sure that it makes sense for the long haul for our clients, especially working with professional athletes, because once you sign that contract, it's public information, right? And we want to make sure that our clients, when they do have all of this money, that it's utilized properly, right? We've heard that saying, new money, right?
Right.
New money. Because why? Because you spend it on dumb stuff, right? You spend it on things, or you might spend it on things that, won't let's just say nothing to show for it at the end of the day, right? So when we are working with these types of clients, we want to be sure that we are educating them, that we're giving them and providing them the resources so that way they can really understand diversification, portfolio diversification, and knowing that this is a long haul, right? They may not ever see this amount of money ever again in their lives, right? Also, another thing is just because you're an NBA player doesn't automatically mean you're a deca millionaire, right? So we want to really understand that some of these people, you know, they might sign a contract for 400,000, not 40 million, right? So there's just still different types of things that we can utilize and help our clients for, especially on some of these scales. Now, irregular income producer, such as, you know, a commercial real estate developer, they only get paid after completion of their project, which could take anywhere from 3 to 5 years, right? So when we are working with these types of clients that come in, that, you know, come into a large sum of money, what do they do with that, right? And how are we going to help them in making sure that they are able to put it in the right places and making sure they're talking to the right people?
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you have any questions so far?
I do have some questions, but just some general thoughts have come to mind as we're discussing this.
Okay.
In particular, you mentioned kind of earlier on the idea of lifestyle creep, how this can definitely affect someone that comes into a large sum of money, and that goes along with the idea of new money. And I am curious how we as real estate professionals can help mitigate that for our clients.
Yeah, so a lot of it has to do with, you know, wanting to be the best of your ability to help your clients. When we sign the contract, we owe our clients fiduciary, meaning, you know, we put their best interest even above our own, right? So we want to see, we're listening to our clients and we're hearing them, what their structures, we're listening for keywords, you know, who is in their line of people already? Who are they working with? Are they working with the right CPAs or tax advisors? Because it's not just CPAs. You have to actually have a tax advising team to tell the CPAs what to do, right? So we're listening for some of these keywords and we're understanding who their influences are, right? And we're providing them with information that can help them change their mind and the way their thought process is, because, you know, maybe we are going to help them utilize their earnings into a virtual family office, right? There's different structures for these type of irregular income producers or people who come in with these inflated short earning windows. But in regards to having these discussions and conversations, it's really mostly a listening thing to see where they are and how we can provide that service for them, right? Yeah. The influence is on, okay, just like anything else. Okay, you're investing into a property. Tell me a little bit about this property. What are you going to utilize it for? And what, you know, just like with any of our other clients, what's your bigger picture? And what are your real estate goals? A lot of the times they may not even know what that is, right? Especially if we're coming into a newer investor. They may not know what their goals, real estate investment goals are. But, you know, they may not know the tax sensitivities and what the programs are out there for them. So it's our position to be able to help educate them and provide them those resources.
Yeah.
Good, awesome. Great question, Patricia.
Thank you.
What else do you got for me?
So I know that when we're working with athletes or maybe other people that have a lot of eyes on them, that introduces privacy issues. And so I would definitely like to hear your thoughts about in terms of privacy, whether that's with showings or different agreements that we might need to have signed, what that looks like working with or representing an athlete or someone with a lot of eyes on them.
Right, yeah. So obviously privacy is first and foremost, right? Making sure that our clients' privacy is under wraps. Making sure they're working with the right team. We have an NDA, and obviously that is something that is signed with the contract and agreement first and foremost, so that way we know. And typically, and we discuss this with even IWG, our asset protection attorney. When we are working with people on this, with exposed and vulnerable information, they're typically working with the LLC. So we have to make sure that we're not putting it in pro athlete's name. We don't want anything to do, this house is not being purchased in pro athlete's name, and a house on this scale is not purchased in anybody's name for that matter. It should be put in a trust, an irrevocable trust, if you were listening to Ike a few weeks ago, but making sure that it's all structured, and Ike is making sure that that's all taken care of. So we would definitely put them in contact with Ike DevG, our asset protection attorney, estate planners, and making sure that they have it all structured. So that way when they do go out into the marketplace, they're not going out as pro athlete, they're going out as entity. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Good.
definitely.
Good.
I know that privacy is, the utmost importance for these clients and all of our clients, but for athletes especially, because like you mentioned early on, that their income is public information, which definitely makes them vulnerable. And so they need to stay a little bit more vigilant, and so do we, being on their team. But I'm also curious in regard to athletes as investors. So let's say they come into a large sum of money, they get a new contract. Is it, in your opinion, for their purchase of a home, should it be their primary residence, or should they go into investment properties right away?
Well, that's a great question. It could be either way, right? In regards to what they're purchasing, obviously if it's a primary residence, it's still going to be under a trust, and it's going to be protected, right? That's the whole main point, is making sure that our clients doesn't have anything in their personal name. It's all protected and under an umbrella. So when they are purchasing a primary residence, obviously we want to know what the usage is for and what, how long they're going to be in it, because if we are working with a active pro athlete who's never home, right, could we establish some sort of investment property out of it? Like, how do they want to utilize it? But that, when you come into this type of money, you have so many other options. You can go conventional way, right? You could pay cash if you wanted to, but you can also utilize leverage, because why not, right? You have the money for it, and you can utilize things in different ways. But it's just a matter of you just listening, because as you know, everybody's different, right? So we have to make sure that we're speaking, we're listening, and then we're hearing what they're saying, and we're understanding what they're saying, and then we're putting them in front of the right people and resources.
Right. Yeah. Definitely.
Good.
And I have one more question for you.
Okay.
So in terms of irregular income earners, or even athletes that we're speaking about. So a lot of times they might not have a super long runway where they're earning income. So it could be even a 3-year long contract, a 5-year long contract, something a little bit shorter. So in your opinion, do you think that they should be more conservative or aggressive when spending their income?
I personally believe in conservative spending 100% in any way, because just because you have the money now doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be there forever. You know this, right? Like, you get paid and you're like, I basically spent my money on food and something to wear. Like, majority of our money goes to unnecessary or necessary things. But especially when you're working with, high-income producers or pro athletes, they're influential team, right? It could be their family members, their friends, their parents, whoever that looks like. They could have a high external influence on our clients, meaning our clients could very well be the protector, the main person for all of these people in their group, right? So we want to make sure that we're educating everybody and everybody's on the same level, and understanding that all of these really big and high ticketed debt and charges, what they're going to look like down the line. And basically having that foresight for our clients, is because it's like everybody is in the now. It's like, well, I have a ton of money in my account right now, and like I'm going to be able to do whatever I want with it. But realistically, it's like we have to understand and take note from the Warren Buffetts out there. I mean, Warren Buffett, you guys, one of the most influential real estate investors known to date. He has owned the same and lived in, mind you, the same primary residence his whole entire life. Like a little house in Kentucky.
Really?
Yeah. He's never moved out. He's lived in the same one little house with his wife, and he's never moved. And I mean, of course, he has real estate assets all over the place. But yeah, isn't that crazy?
That is crazy. I had no idea.
Yeah. So when it comes to conserving your money, right, we have to take it from some of these biggest names and wealthiest people that it's not about all of that. It's something deeper, right? When they have the money, and as you know, and a lot of the population out there, they're driven to hurry up and spend on an emotion, but we all know where that leads to. So we try to influence or encourage our clients anyway to take a look at better assets that have higher return.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I appreciate you sharing that, because that goes back to our fiduciary duty to our clients, working in ultimately their best interest, which is preserving their wealth in the long haul. And that goes back into the entire point of real estate investing 101, which is wealth preservation, and making sure that the money that we have right now can create generational wealth and can create legacy for future generations. So
right, especially when we're working with these people, because they are the protector of their family, right? And we have to make sure and understand that, yeah, you can spend $100,000 on your family and helping them put money towards here, or you can spend $100,000 on buying them life insurance, which later they can pull out later. You know what I mean? And it's all tax free. But you won't know any of these structures unless you click the link in our bio and schedule your call today, because there's some stuff out there.
Yeah.
Well,
awesome.
Thank you so much. I'm going to leave you with some insight this week, you guys, and Patricia. The advisor insight I'm going to leave you with is discipline outlasts talent. Okay. So structured decisions made during peak income years determine financial security long after the spotlight ends. So make sure that you know the discipline from day one, right? Beans and rice. I don't care how much millions of dollars you got in your bank account. Beans and rice are good, and go to support your local beans and rice makers in your city, because there's nothing wrong with eating and conserving everything that you have to make sure that down the line, after you accumulate your 7 different commercial real estate properties and you're walking down the street like Mayweather, right, with all these multifamilies on your belt, and then you can go and you can just spend all your money all you want because it's tax-free.
Right. And that's what she wrote.
Well, thank you guys so much for always tuning in. What did you guys think about week 9? What have you thought about this series? Have you loved it?
I loved it. I've learned so much already.
Well, I'm looking
forward to the next 3 weeks.
Well, you guys, who is she? Patricia Josen, our advisor, our real estate advisor with our group. You guys, if you want to learn more about Patricia, definitely click the link in our bio. She'll be on our website, all that fun stuff. But if you want to work with Patricia, she is on our team and here to help serve you. So thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Have a great week. We'll talk to you later.